Hey, friends. Like many of you, I'm sure, I've been following the case of the murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, allegedly by a singer known as David, otherwise known as D4vd.
It's flexible. People say D4vd, I'm cool with that. People say David, I'm cool with that. People say D4vd, I'm cool with that as well.
I'm sure, like some of you, I had only ever seen one clip of D4vd, and that was him failing a backflip at Coachella. Didn't know who he was, just thought he was, kind of a general dumbass. And then suddenly last year, we learn a lot about him whenever he comes into the news after a dismembered body was found in the trunk of his Tesla, or the frunk as it's known. It was a front trunk where the hood would be of a regular car. And before I get to sharing my thoughts on this, I just want to say for anybody who might be new to the channel, welcome here. I like to make sure that everybody watching knows that I am not any kind of expert who can diagnose anyone, not a highly educated person. I'm just a person who loves to deep dive and share my thoughts. A person with a YouTube channel. So with that said, let's get into the thoughts. Now, the first thing that surprised me about D4vd is I kept seeing him described as a rapper in the news. And whenever I actually looked up his music for the first time, it's more of like a vintage soul sounding type music. It's actually really good. If I'd heard it before I knew the allegations against him, which in my opinion seem to be or have overwhelming evidence of truth. He's just not convicted yet. So we have to say that. But had I heard them before, I would have assumed that the graphic lyrics were simply allegorical. I mean, there's license in art to talk about things. However, a case like DeForvid really makes you start wondering if we shouldn't take a closer look at people making graphic art, even if it is song lyrics, because just frankly, my God, friends, he confessed everything he was going to do and then did in his song lyrics. But back to my timeline and narrative. So, for anyone who doesn't know, DeForvid gained his popularity by playing Fortnite, and he decided to start making music after some of his Fortnite clips because he did gameplay, streaming, YouTube, whatever. Some of his Fortnite clips got copyright struck for the music on them, and his mom said, "Well, you're just going to have to make your own." Turned out he was really freaking good at it and ended up going viral for his music. I believe Fortnite actually licensed him. And as we saw with the failed backflip, he ended up performing at Coachella. Fortnite is also apparently where he allegedly met Celeste. And from what we understand, DeForvid was around 15 and Celeste was 9 or 10. So it's definitely a fact that DeForvid was a kid himself when he began experiencing success and began interacting with Celeste. It does seem strange to me for a 15-year-old to be interested in a 10-year-old because even though that age gap itself isn't significant at all among adults, at that particular age, it just seems weird. But then again, I was a homeschool kid and I don't have a lot of experience of what is normal with high school age kids because I didn't go to high school. I was in a very cloistered environment at the time. Which brings me to another point. DeForvid was homeschooled, and some of the things I've been seeing people say about the fact that he's homeschooled, in addition to the fact that he apparently allegedly is a gruesome murderer, are really making me side eye because, like, dang, not all of us homeschool kids are that bad. You know what I mean? We do tend to be a bit odd, a little bit off in our thinking and stuff because we didn't have the structured teaching that almost universally exist in America that causes people to have kind of a homogenous view of certain things. When you just don't have that, you end up having kind of a different way of thinking. In my experience, though, people tend to enjoy that. Like, there are people who simply just absolutely hate me on sight or on the sound of my voice or whatever. And that's okay. I'm not everybody's jar of tea. It's fine. But generally, I have not experienced any kind of negative repercussion due to being homeschooled. So, some of the comments I'm seeing about how, oh, yeah, David is just one of those weird, mysterious homeschooled kids who ended up being a murderer. I'm just like, what? What? But anyway, I digress, friends. Now, the thing that keeps coming to mind the more D4vd clips I watch, the more I learn about his alleged crimes and everything that he did, even that wasn't criminal yet, or maybe alluded to a crime but wasn't a criminal act. All those things seem to indicate to me that he might be one of the most extreme examples in modern time of duping delight on a murderous scale because he seems to really enjoy the way that he dropped clues and breadcrumbs, not just breadcrumbs, he just like he threw down a whole loaf at times. Even his whole entire album, Withered, his music before, he had an animation done for one of his music videos and specifically requested the anime girl's body to be dismembered in the exact ways that he later dismembered Celeste. I had to take his music out because obviously it's still copyright protected, but this song is called Oh Celeste. The anime girl that he had commissioned in this art looks like her and ends up having her limbs dismembered like Celeste did. What is that? You know? He showed everybody what he wanted to do, and then he did it, and he was continuing to make art about it. That's creepy. And David has admitted that he began watching cartel execution videos around the age of 11 years old, and that he became so desensitized to gore that he didn't even look away. He said in different spaces that he felt gore was better than corn for him. Again, that's fucking creepy. And I get to a certain extent that might sound like a teenage boy trying to be edgy and shocking, but in D4vd's case, it appears everything he ever said or every bit of art he ever created about gore predicted what he decided to do. And that is just a different level, friends, in my opinion. Let me know what y'all think. Now, Celeste appears to have been a child in difficult circumstances who wasn't being protected from abusers. It's been claimed that she was SA'd by a family friend who she was described as being in a relationship with when she was 11 and he was 21. Relationship is not possible there. That's always going to be abuse. Celeste was reported missing by her family in April of 2024. And after that time, the circumstances just get really, really strange. After being tipped off that Celeste was with David on February 14th, 2024, the police visited David and they told D4vd explicitly that Celeste is 13 and was a runaway. I'm sure they knew that D4vd already knew that, but they had to make sure that it was documented that he was informed because, as later we can see, he was probably going to try and claim he didn't know. And from what we understand, they initially contacted him by phone after finding his number in Celeste's phone, and he told them he hadn't talked to her in about a week. The police then came to visit him, and that's when they made sure to tell him she is 13 and a runaway, and he told them he was unaware that she was a minor. However, for a reason I wasn't able to exactly find in the prosecuting document, I'm sure they asked maybe permission to search his phone or something, but somehow on his phone, they saw that he had a yearbook picture of Celeste on there during this visit. So that would completely contradict the idea that he didn't know her age. And we already know that he knew her age. It's just a matter of breaking down his lies to the police exactly. Now, it seems the police might have asked him if he had any pics of Celeste on his phone, and he showed them the yearbook pic because we know later his phone was found to be chock full of CSAM of Celeste. So maybe he felt like a yearbook picture was the thing to try and indicate that he's just, a fellow classmate, not exactly, but like, kind of one of the kids, whatever. All I have is her yearbook pic kind of thing. And I can't help but wonder if that is another instance of his duping delight. Did he really seemed to think he could be very sloppy and blatant with literal murder and wasn't going to get caught. And he took pleasure in it, in my opinion, friends. I mean, it seems arrogant to the point of being absolutely absurd that he would tell the cops with a straight face, "Oh, I didn't know that she was 13." I know there are some people who believe he actually wanted to get caught. I'm not there myself. I don't think he wanted to get caught. I think his delusion of grandeur about his own intelligence and ability to get by with things was just so great. He was enjoying giving hints and feeling like he was playing right in their face and actually thinking he was really going to get by with it. That's just my opinion. As more evidence comes out, I may have to change that. But that's where I am right now, friends. Let me know if you think I'm right or I'm reaching. As I always say, it's totally fine if you think I'm reaching and want to disagree with me in the comments. I'd love it if you do it politely, but it's whatever. It's America. We got free speech. Or wherever you are in the world, I'm sure you got free speech too, friends. Now, after the police visited D4vd, Celeste mysteriously just returned home 2 days later. Pretty good indication, in my opinion, that she was there, but all alleged, friends. The strange thing is, it doesn't appear to have been reported to the police that she was back home by her family in order to update the missing persons case in any way. I don't want to speculate too hard on the family because obviously they're going through a terrible tragedy and they're victims. I just have some questions about things, friends. Now, in March of 2024, before the missing persons report, Celeste appeared on a live stream with D4vd. And only one infamous clip of this live stream has ever surfaced. And it was only obtained because one of the chatters of the live stream asked David a question, and they were hoping that David would say their name whenever he answered and happened to catch this clip.
You're media
I personally don't.
Yo, I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes. Everything. Pray for his career, chat. Are we done? Are we?
We need to delete this.
Are we? Maz, can we delete all VODs and then as soon as the stream ends, delete the stream too? Can we delete? Can we delete everything? You done for, bro? Y'all are not done? Now you going to Epstein? Yo, wait.
Oh, look it. Answer that one. That's so mean if you don't answer
Which
that.
one? What's good, David? Big fan, big me. Yo, thank you, Mitochondria. Appreciate you.
I gotta stop with him if you even.
Exactly. He ended up catching the famous delete everything clip from D4vd after Celeste said, "Oh, what? It's controversial of grouping kids." I don't know what they were talking about before that. But considering what we know now about what went on between D4vd and Celeste, Celeste threatening to out him for being with her while underage, and then him murdering her, seems very, very significant, friends. What do y'all think? Now, a lot of people have noted that in this live stream, Celeste appeared in a big hoodie and large glasses. It seemed like maybe she was kind of trying to disguise her appearance some, which, would make sense. And in other pictures where she was at concerts and different things with D4vd, she wasn't quite dressed like that. You know what I mean? She tended to prefer pink, Hello Kitty. She liked to show her beautiful curly hair. The most we saw her was with like a do-rag at one point and not completely covered like she was in the live stream. Just an observation. It may not mean anything, but it just everything seems significant after she was found dismembered. you know, I would love to know what prompted Celeste to say the statement she did of what? It's controversial of grouping kids, but I don't know if we'll ever be able to get that recovered. Hopefully, surely you would think the police would be able to get it somehow, but if that's truly not recoverable, we may never know. Now, that instance on that live stream is one time where it feels to me like we're not seeing any duping delight on D4vd's face. He looks genuinely upset, almost like he goes blank and cold. It's like, I media trained you. That's controversial. And I can't help but wonder if her blurting that out right there is when he decided to kill her. What do y'all think, friends? The prosecuting document that was released doesn't give a super exact timeline of their text exchanges, but it does say that after Celeste returned home in February 2024, her phone was taken by her parents. And D4vd drove to her school and paid a kid there $1,000 to give Celeste a phone he bought for her so that he could stay in contact with her. And we have a picture of this thanks to one of the kids who leaked it. So, putting that timeline into context, after the police visited David, she returns home. Her parents take her phone away, and David drives out there, brings her another one. The police have already said, listen, she's 13. She's a minor. She's a runaway. You can't be in contact with her. And he's 5 years older than her, so he's 18 at this time. He's a legal adult. And some people feel it's murky because they were both underage when they got together. Like I've shared, I feel that young, that age gap is so much more significant than it is among adults. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what y'all think, friends. To me, when I look at these pictures of Celeste, it's just so obvious to me that she was a child by every standard of legality and morality. Her very look was still childish, and she loved to wear Hello Kitty. D4vd posted about his Hello Kitty girl, about how when your card fails at therapy, so they call in that one Hello Kitty girl kind of thing. There's an interesting clip of D4vd being talked about by a teacher in Lake Elsinore, where he says he was told that kids were blackmailing D4vd. They knew he was in a relationship with a minor, and they were blackmailing him over it. If this is accurate, and it kind of sounds like it might be, in my opinion, you can disagree if you want, friends. It's totally okay. Just let me know why. But it sounds, in my opinion, like this is probably accurate. So he might have been feeling at that point, by getting rid of Celeste, that he would be stopping multiple problems that could derail his new album deal and his upcoming tour. Again, though, that shows his absolute arrogance, because murder doesn't work. Like, people who actually get by with murder are so rare. I don't understand what he was thinking, and the pleasure he seems to take in actually making art, predicting and then reminiscing his heinous act. It makes me think he's, like I said, a really dangerous extreme case of duping delight. Now, another wild thing in that prosecuting document is it says that Celeste spent a lot of time traveling with D4vd, spent time in London, Texas with his parents, even. Now, that is weird to me. Were the parents in contact with her parents? How did they check and make sure that it was okay for this 13-year-old to be there? And if they did contact her parents and they gave permission, that's weird. And if they didn't, that's weird too. I feel like if D4vd is found guilty, that the parents owe the public an explanation of what exactly they were told about Celeste when he showed up with her, and why they didn't investigate more. Or if they did, explain yourselves, put it out there. Just my opinion. Now, it seems like after Celeste and D4vd's travel together is where the problems really begin, because their text exchanges start mentioning the A word that YouTube doesn't like, the A word that stands for terminating an unwanted pregnancy. And they talk about Plan B pills. And in November of 2024, the terminology used in their text is that they broke up. Although, again, we have to be clear, Celeste was not able to be in a position to be in a relationship with him and break up because she was a 13-year-old child. It would always be abuse. Now, if Google is telling me accurately, in November 2024, D4vd would have been 19 and a half years old, and Celeste would have been just over 14. And again, I know some D4vd defenders say, yeah, but they were both minors when the relationship started. It's never a relationship. But I've already shared my thoughts on that. And I may be right, I may be wrong. That's just my feelings currently. As more information comes out, they may change. But I don't feel like that age gap at that age of 10 and 15 makes any sense. Now, the prosecuting document does indicate that in spite of the separation, communication, sexting, sexual exchanges, perhaps encounters continued to go on. So Celeste was still experiencing abuse, but now she did not have any hope that what would come of it would be a rock star wife future for her. And she had to endure knowing that he was seeing other people. And in her immature child brain, this was hard to take, I'm sure. Celeste knew what had happened was wrong, and she didn't have the maturity to process the adult emotions that she was feeling, and clearly decided to tell, which is what she always should have done, but she should have told before telling David. However, that's a forgivable mistake in a child, especially considering how Celeste has paid for those mistakes. It's terrible, it's tragic, and I just hope she's somehow resting in peace. Sadly, there is a text from Celeste to D4vd that says, all we do is have X and hang out, and I want more. She wanted not to just be used. And as a child, she didn't know how to accomplish that. She couldn't accomplish it because she was a child. And so what she did was threaten him that she was going to tell that he'd been in a relationship with her, a child, and that he would lose his career. Now, we also have to keep in mind that if Celeste was pregnant, as they were just talking about her being, then she would have been, her child brain would have been absolutely flooded with hormones and emotions. Celeste made these specific threats to David to expose him and ruin his career by text April 22nd, 2025. D4vd's new album was set to be released 3 days later, April 25th, 2025. On April 23rd, 2025, the day after Celeste's threatening text, he texted her to come over and sent her an Uber. The prosecuting document states they believe he took her life shortly after she arrived and tried to disguise it by texting her, "Where are you? Where are you?" Celeste's cell phone activity ceased completely. Nothing ever again after that night. The document specifically says he lay in wait for her and allowed her to bleed out without doing anything to stop it. And once again, I think myself, due to his extreme duping delight and his propensity to tolerate gore, his actions get really, really weird again. He drives out to Santa Barbara and apparently, allegedly, tosses her passport out the window. Why wouldn't he burn it or something? The assumption is that he wanted it to be found in that specific place because human traffickers go through there. Maybe they would think that she got taken that way. The careless way he goes about this and seems to have this extreme arrogance that he'll never get caught. I doubt he even wiped his damn fingerprints off it. He probably just full fingered, just tossed it out the window. Dude is crazy, friends. He could have chopped that passport up and put the pieces inside a bag of poopy cat litter and then put it in the trash. Who's going to go through that if they see shreds of paper? Nobody. Like, there's just a million things he could have done besides leaving the trail of evidence that he did, you know? I've seen some people surmise that maybe he was too panicked to think clearly after what he actually just literally did, or that maybe he was on some kind of hard drugs that made him seem invincible. Both are possible, and both could combine with his love of leaving a trail and thinking it's never going to be followed. kind of like the Zodiac killer. But it just seems like such an unforced error. There are so many unforced errors from D4vd here that I do understand why people believe that he wanted to get caught. I just don't personally share that yet. I may change my mind, friends. And the actions D4vd took over the next 2 weeks are so extremely gruesome that I want to apologize ahead because I don't mean any disrespect whenever we have to use silly terms here on YouTube sometimes in order to not get our videos demonetized or taken down because YouTube's AI system thinks if we say certain words that we're promoting those certain words. I know bigger YouTubers can get by with saying them without getting the dings that us smaller YouTubers do on our channel. I don't know why, but we just do the best we can. So I just wanted everyone to know the silly words that I might say for some things here to not get flagged by YouTube are not in any way meant to be disrespectful to the victim or the actions that occurred. We're just trying to stay within the policy here. But yeah, the things that D4vd decided to do after actually doing, allegedly, the stabbing are so crazy. Even for someone who got desensitized to watching gore, how did he not have everything inside him as a human being recoil? How did he not puke? How did he not retch and gag? Like, allegedly, after he murdered Celeste on April 23rd, 2025, the next day he ordered a shovel, had it delivered straight to his house. Again, he made the slightest attempt at disguising it by using a different name, Vanessa Martinez. And that's annoying. It reminds me of Casey Anthony's Zanny the Nanny, who didn't exist also. And it was like, oh, it was some Hispanic woman. And it reminds me also of Sherry Papini saying she was kidnapped by Hispanics. And that's become kind of the throwaway accusation for people who had racist tendencies. Almost always go for a Hispanic lady. It's annoying. It seems a very racial thing to do. Anyway, he had implements for his dismembering and disposal of his victim delivered directly to his address and thought having the name Vanessa Martinez put on it, they're never going to figure it out. Ha ha. Duping delight. 8 days after the supposed alleged date of the killing, he had the chainsaws delivered. 8 days. Like, even if he managed to put her in a refrigerator or regular, type deep freezer or something like that, a whole body that's not yet cut up would chill and freeze slowly due to its internal temperature. And I think some rotting would still occur. So, unless I'm just wildly wrong, and let me know in the comments if I am. I don't think I am, but hey, unless I'm just wildly wrong, even if he managed to get her in a fridge or freezer, I think it would still be pretty smelly and gross. Now, we do know I was able to see on Zav Girl's channel. I really enjoy Zav Girl and True Crime with Strategic Eyes for following this case. They do great, in my opinion. Zav Girl I particularly like because she does the thing I enjoy where she really deep dives into every single detail, whether it seems relevant or irrelevant. She's going to cover it, and my detail brain loves that. Strategic Eyes I enjoy because he has detective experience and he will often kind of bring us non-law enforcement true crime enthusiasts back to earth by being like, y'all, I know this is intriguing, but it don't mean anything legally in that sense. So Zav Girl was able to find where someone drove by D4vd's house not long after Celeste's body was found in the Tesla, and the garage door was open, and there was a regular stand-up refrigerator with a top freezer in there. So unless it happened to be all freezer all the way, which it didn't look like, I don't think he could have gotten her into any kind of freezer. It would have had to have just been a regular refrigerator. And I don't think that would have actually preserved with no smell, which would, kind of explain perhaps why people were smelling odors in his house, but not to the level that you would think with a full on decomping body out in the open in one room. I might be wrong, but that's just what I'm thinking there. Now, D4vd's album, Withered, when he started his tour right after Celeste's alleged murder date, he was bringing out a white casket. It almost seemed like every show was a recreated funeral. There's a video clip of him sitting there twirling white cotton around what appears to be a dismembered finger. Celeste, two fingers, the one that she had tattooed on, and another one that she allegedly had D4vd's name tattooed on, were both cut off and they have never been recovered. Again, duping delight. D4vd created an alter ego. Now, for those of us who've been in the Gypverse, we know alter egos are bad news brown among murderers. Like, it seems like everyone that we hear about creates an alter ego, and that's the person who does the bad stuff. His alter ego was named Itami. And Itami didn't have a problem with murdering and then also did work as a detective at night to solve the crimes that he committed.
He wears his blindfold and he's basically an agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego. And the story of the manga went like I was a detective and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments, kind of like Fight Club with Tyler Durden. And he would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as the detective. So like when I was as a detective, I'd be like solving murders that I'm committing myself.
Could that be related to D4vd's breadcrumbing and the duping delight of, I'm doing these. I'm going to tell you a little bit, but you can't solve it, only I can. Now, Strategic Eyes believes that D4vd stole his ideas for Itami from another artist. I can't remember that artist's name right now. I want to say it was like Psych MVP or something like that. Psycho MVP. I'll have to check back at Strategic's video on it. But there was a character that David probably came across before who did the same thing. And then we get to the whole matter of him moving the Tesla with her in it around his neighborhood. Like, he's got to have a sense of smell. He told the other people in his house during that live stream video, don't worry if you smell something. I just took a big shit.
I apologize in advance for the way my bathroom smelled. I took a like 2 hours ago.
I don't care. I just took it.
Another one? Type shit. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yo, I had to go.
If you want to join us? Look at my wall.
And he was moving the Tesla around when the smell would get too bad. There's a family that lived near there who did an interview, and they said they had lost a beloved pet, and buried it in the backyard. And when they started smelling that, they got worried, thinking they didn't bury their pet right. Later, they realized it was Celeste in the Tesla frunk. Putting Celeste in a vehicle registered to his name and then still keeping it close to his house, not bothering to just go get it right away when it was towed. All these things he could have done to have delayed his discovery or possibly even prevented it to the point of getting away with it, he just didn't do. And he seemed like he took pleasure in being arrogant enough to not do it. So I'm curious what y'all think. Do you think that I'm onto something here? Is his duping delight psychosis so great that he actually thought he could just breadcrumb his whole entire murder in public like that and make art predicting it and then celebrating it before and after the event and just get by with it and enjoy it? Or do you agree with the other people who think that he wanted to get caught and that's why he was so blatant with things? Let me know what you think in the comments, friends, and we'll go out with a palate cleanser. Hope everyone's having a good day.